Welcome to Quiltology, brought to you by Fabric Editions to help you learn basic quilting concepts that will jumpstart your quilting experience. Today's lesson is about precision cutting and piecing. Star designs in quilts are timeless and have remained popular throughout the course of quilt history. The Quiltology Indigo Star Quilt, made up of 9 star blocks in the center, will be used to teach precision cutting and piecing techniques so your star points will match. In this video, we will share important tips and tricks to help make this simple project a success. Quilting depends on precise accuracy and workmanship at every step. Let's begin by sharing some ways to make sure you are sewing with an exact 1/4 inch seam allowance. Many sewing machine companies offer a 1/4 inch foot attachment for accurate piecing and quilting. You can also establish and mark a guide on your machine bed using masking tape and graph paper. Trim along one of the graph lines, place it under the presser foot, and slowly lower the needle onto the grid, 1 line from the edge. Place masking tape on the machine bed along the edge of the paper ahead of the needle. Test the method you've decided to use by sewing 3 1.5 by 5 inch strips together on the long sides. Press and measure the center strip. It should measure exactly 1 inch wide. As we sew a block together, let's focus on some of the techniques to help us sew a perfect block. Accurately cut pieces are easy to sew together. Use a rotary cutter with a new, sharp blade. Be sure to measure twice and cut once to ensure that your pieces will be cut accurately. Use exact 1/4 inch seams throughout quilt construction to make certain all the pieces fit together smoothly and accurately. Sometimes quilters sew with a scant 1/4 inch seam, which means to sew 1 thread width away from the 1/4 inch seam to compensate for the amount taken up when pressing. Use extra fine pins to hold pieces in place while sewing. This is important so seam intersections and points can be aligned properly. Develop the habit of pressing as you go when quilting. Press each seam before sewing another. Press first with the right sides together to embed the stitches. Then open and press seam allowances to one side. The tips on each completed block should float 1/4 inch in from the unfinished edge. On the wrong side of the unit, you will see a stitched X at the top of the flying geese block. This X determines the location of the finished triangle tips and is the matching point for pinning and stitching the rows together. When sewing the rows together, stitch through the center of the X to ensure crisp points. If the seam is too wide, the points will be cut off. When sewing the rows together, match the outside points of